welcome. Thank you for visiting, and thank you to Citi for our partnership. And always love when you're able to come and visit, because it's hard to explain. I just remember explaining, trying to explain to my mother-in-law what I did. It was, I think after a bunch of years, she finally got it. Maybe it was about 10 years. So the guys come up and they sign things. They actually sign them, and they actually sell them. People buy them. Yes. But I remember one of our doctors had said, is your son-in-law Brandon Steiner? Do you think you can get something for my son? And my mother-in-law kind of got it. So it's amazing sometimes. You don't know when the breakthrough is going to occur. But anyway, this is our 26th year. First, let me just say that you are I think probably the reason why Clyde's really one of the first athletes that I got a chance to work with. Well, he's actually the first athlete that I got a chance to work with. And a lot of, one of the reasons I love Clyde actually is some of our similarities actually. The way we got started, where we come from in some respects. And also, I always think, consistency over time equals credibility. I think, everybody here in the room has had some success. But I think the real true success comes, when you do it over a period of time, consistently. And that's what I love about Clyde. He did it as a ball player. He's done it. He's reinvented himself. He's been incredibly productive, and I have a lot of respect for him. My idol growing up as a kid, I could do nothing but emulate him for hours on the basketball court. I'm a hoop junkie. I have a full court basketball court in my house, indoor and outdoor, and I don't emulate. I realize now that my game is never going to be like his, or any stretch of that. But for a lot of times, when I was a kid, I used to try to think that maybe one day that would happen. And then to meet him and then actually to get to work with him, to really understand what was going on in his head and how he approached the game and how he approached life will be interesting. We'll have a great conversation. I was just going to take 5 or 10 minutes. And I always think, a lot of successful people in the room. And there's been a tremendous joy. A voyage you can't imagine. I could probably give you 3 hours. But I gave you a copy of the book, so you're going to get a little bit of an idea. My mother's favorite line, you got to have balls. It wasn't it was a play on words. We do sell over half a million balls a year from here at a Steiner. But my mother was always, you got to have balls and, be fearless. Don't be afraid to try things. Don't do things, half-assed. Do things the right way. And we'd always go into every store, every business, and she would just rip it apart. So, and really the book is not a sports book. Some of the women here, it really is the lessons I learned from my mom and all those lessons I learned as a kid. You don't realize how important parenting is. You don't know what's going to catch on with your kids. And they're all the lessons I learned. I was able to convert millions and millions of dollars worth of sales and ideas and relationships over some stupid lessons that I've learned that I always listen to my mom very carefully. She made sure of that. So, there's a lot of things I could talk about, but how do you do the most amount in the least amount of time? I just thought I'd talk really briefly on 2 things, and really the two most important things I think that differentiate me: value proposition and productivity. At the end, I want to do. My mother always said, the biggest problem is you only have one ass. You can only be in one place. So I was always like, zipping around, like, how do I get here? So she's like, it's a big problem. You have to figure that out because, you can only do so much. So, and I've always kind of remembered that because productivity is so important. How do you do the most amount in the least amount of time? You got kids, family, you got your wife, you got your business, clients, you want to have a little fun. Maybe you want to watch a couple games. There's a lot of stuff to wrap up in one day. And I think regardless of how much money you have, you want to get every last ounce of joy and fun and everything you can get into one day. For me, everything started when I was just a little kid. Now, I lived over a store, a Glock kosher butcher, kosher. Well, the Glock kosher, is when they kill the chickens in the store. So I lived over this butcher shop, and usually it's brat, brat. It wasn't a great way to start the day. I always ask me about where that inspiration and motivation comes from, but a lot of that can start off at around 6:30 a.m. when the guy's killing chickens right underneath the window. So I remember going up to the front of the class. I was in Mr. Cooper's class, and Kings Highway in Brooklyn is a long strip of retail stores. And it's just, one store after another. So, I lived over a store. And Mr. Kerber was my fifth grade teacher. He went up to the front of the room one day. I was taking the test. He called me up and he gave me an envelope of money. And I said, what's this for? And he said, well, we took a collection of money to buy some clothes. I said, how do you know I need clothes? He says, well, you have a rip in the right knee. How do you know I have a rip in the right knee? You've been wearing the same pants for 3 weeks in a row. So I was a little devastated at that moment, brought the money home. My mother said, you're in between sizes. Always had a grade, And so, I went back, brought the money back, and then, the next night I was thinking, this just didn't add up, even for a 10-year-old. So the next morning I marched to my mother's room. On Saturday I'm going to go get a job, and I will support myself going forward. And you don't have to worry about me, and if I have extra money, I'm going to take care of the family. Now, I know a lot of you have kids, 10 years old, and to get my kid to go down, dressed, and maybe eat breakfast in the morning would be a major feat. So I'm marching in, and I'm waking up Saturday morning at 7, and I'm up and down on the highway until I find a store, and I found Freddie the Fruit Man to hire me at $1.50 an hour. The reason I tell that story, how it may relate to you, is that I think that everyone at some point you want to take your accountability and dependability, and that's what I think Steiner is all about. Is at the end, it's a small story about just a broke kid went out on the street, got a job, but I decided that accountability and dependability was really important to me at that age. I think everyone has to declare that. Probably most of the people in the room have declared that. That's what Steiner is all about: is dependability and accountability. You ask a Derek Jeter or an Eli Manning or a Walt Frazier, Brand's an honest guy. His stuff's real. It's authentic. What he does, you can count on him. He's going to deliver it. So roll forward a couple years, and this is probably the most valuable lesson I ever learned, which is I decided that I wanted to play ball in the afternoons. I wanted to make sure that I could be free, so I got a paper route. Now, to steal one of Walt Frazier's lines, I always saw the light at an early age. Fortunately, it was the refrigerator light. That refrigerator was empty. So I'm running around trying to make as much money as I can. And at this point already, I've put a few lemonade stands out of business, the whole thing. So I open up, I get the paper out, 29 dailies, 34 Sundays. The value proposition is never something I'm even thinking about until I knock on this woman who's about 70 years old. I said, ma'am, would you get the Daily News delivered? She says, no, son, I don't want to get the news. But you get the Daily News every day. I see the stack in your house. It looks like you haven't thrown out the paper in about 2 years. He says, yeah, but I get it from the corner store. I said, yeah, but I'll deliver this paper every morning by 7 a.m. You never have to worry. He says, yeah, but I get it at the corner store. He says, the same price. He says, yeah, but then I got to tip you. I go home. I said, Mom, you believe this woman? She doesn't want to tip me. She says, you got to differentiate yourself. You can't expect people to buy the same thing that other people, you can't sell the same thing that other people are selling and expect to get a good result. You got to differentiate yourself. So I had to kind of think about that. I'm 12, not quite sure what that meant. But I'm knocking on more doors, and finally I go back and I knock on the woman's door again. But Sonny, I told you I don't want to get the newspaper delivered. I say, ma'am, I'm very concerned about you. If it's blizzarding outside, snowstorm, rainstorm, heat wave, how are you going to get the paper when the weather's really bad? If I bring you milk and bagels on Sunday morning by 7 a.m. and milk on Wednesdays and anything else you need, would you get the paper delivered for me then? Because I don't think it's a good idea that you go outside when the weather's bad. You would do that for me? Concerned. I can't believe you would do that for me. You're going to bring me milk and bagels on Wednesdays and Sundays? Well, anyway, 199 dailies later, 234 Sundays, 2 shopping carts on Sunday to deliver all those papers. And it's the most important lesson I've ever learned, is that it isn't about what you're selling, it's about delivering how people need to receive it. And a lot of us are delivering services and products, but are you doing it in a way that the way that people need to receive it? Because if you can do that, it's a game changer, it's game over. Derek Jeter, the last guy he needed was me. Other than him being able to go to the Yankees saying he can't sign all these autographs because he's with Steiner. But the value proposition, honestly, 17-year relationship is, let me help you with your foundation. Let me help you with term 2. Way before I ever got into all the things I needed him to do for me. And 17 years later, boom, Yankee Steiner. They're worried about all their product and everything slipping through the back door. I can help you, I can secure that, I can put a system together, make sure the product's real, make sure the fans are protected, value proposition. So, you know, value proposition, I think, is just critical. And when you're thinking about your services, you're thinking about your products that you're delivering every day, it's not that you're not selling it properly, but you got to make sure you really fully understand how the customer needs to receive it. That's my thing on value proposition. And just a couple last things. I was going to have a couple other things, but I want to get with Clyde. But I do a blog every day. Not a sports blogger, but I am very flattered every now and then I'm able to get a ball player to do a pod with me or an interview, that kind of thing. So some great interviews that really give you some insight, especially when you're over 40. You know, things are starting to fall apart. And I always tell people, you know, the paint's not dry. You know, 70% of the wealth in this country is still with people 50 and older. And the highest level of entrepreneurism is between 55 and 65. So my first thing is the grass is not greener over there. It's greener where you water it. It's just up to us to reinvent yourself. And it's not too late. You can go take texting lessons. You can get on Instagram. You can get the Facebooks. You can get all that stuff going right away. But I want to give you a couple of tips to help you save some of your lives. Or at least I think so. First of all, do not eat ballpark food before the end of the third inning or the end of the first quarter. Never buy ballpark food. You go to the Garden, wait till the second quarter. You go to the Yankee game, wait till the fourth inning. Does anybody know why? Probably left over from the game before. Just trying to help you here. You can't outwork bad nutrition. Just because you went to the gym this morning doesn't allow you to eat all crazy and improperly. Okay, or because you think you're going to the gym later, it gives you the right to eat all those carbs. Okay, you can't outwork it. That's the stuff you did when you were 20. That doesn't work anymore. On date night is a biggie, you know. Don't bring your cell phone with you. I've probably added 20 years to my marriage. I've been married for 26 years, 25 years, been New Year's Eve. Not sure what that says about my wife, but 25 years we've been good. And one of the things I do is I don't bring my phone on date night. If somebody's trying to text you or email you on a Friday night or a Saturday night at 9 o'clock, you got very serious problems. Now, what you don't want to do is you can't trust yourself. You know, going to the bathroom, waiting for your wife to go up, looking underneath the table, it's not good. But you'd be surprised when you tell your wife or your husband, vice versa, depending who's, you know, the text maniac or the email maniac. Your wife's always going to say, I got to have this phone for the kids. And that's fine. Let your wife take your phone, because more than likely, they can be trusted. Men, you know you're going to the bathroom, you know you're checking on that phone, but when you tell your wife, I'm not taking my phone, that's a big statement, because then you're saying you're the most important person in the room. I'm going out with you and I'm focusing on what the agenda is. Now, most of you will tell me, the reason why you work your butt off and you've earned all this money and have all this wealth is for your family, for your kids, for your husbands, for your wives. But the reality is that you're fooling yourself, because at the end, when you have this ultimate moment, you're spending an hour with your kid in the car, and you're not getting off your phone, or when you're on your date night, supposedly the most important thing, which is why you're working so hard, which is why you're looking on your email, you text every 5 minutes, it's not adding up. What you don't want to do is you want to have to look back and go, geez. Because you know all it takes is one email. It's just one email, and all of a sudden your mind's in 50 other places. It's supposed to be where you need to be. Leave that phone home. Another little tip is when you wake up in the morning, don't check your emails for the first hour. Now, a lot of you have trouble with that because it's right on your night table or in your hand when you wake up. But if you do not check your email for the first hour, this is another very productive tip, because your emails will take you in a lot of strange directions and a lot of strange places, as opposed to letting your natural instincts of what you think is important, what I call my MVP list, your most valuable priorities. So when I wake up in the morning, the first 90 seconds, what I'm thinking about, well, let me tell you what I used to think about. I used to get up in the morning. I don't know if my wife was even alive. I'm contemplating whether I want to take a shower or not. God knows where the hell the kids were. They could be dead, or maybe they never even got home or not. I see the dog's in the way, and I'm just thinking, I got to get to work. I got to figure out I can make some money. Now I wake up in the morning, I think 90 seconds. And that 90 seconds will dictate the other 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 30 seconds that you have. It's the foundation of your day. If you had a negative day, it's probably because that first 90 seconds you messed up. You didn't get it straight. If you get the first 90 seconds straight, the other 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 30 seconds are going to go great. I wake up in the morning, I know my wife's got a mammogram at 11, my kid's got a test at 3, and I got a really big client going through a lot of problems. I got to make sure I touch base with him in the morning. How many times do you go through a day You talk about the people that matter to you the most. You forget your wife had the mammogram. You forget your kid had the test at 3. But at 11:01, I'm calling my wife, I want to know how that went. 3:05, I call my kid, I text him, can't call him, text him, see how that test went. 9:05, first thing, how'd that thing go, how'd that problem go? Oh good, I just want to check on you. If you get your MVP list, your most valuable priority straight, you're going to be a lot more productive. And your day's going to go great. I am a big fan of the not-to-do list. All of you got these lists. We're all productive AAA personality types here, I'm sure. You don't obtain a lot of wealth. You don't have a lot of success without these to-do lists. Me, I got the big not-to-do list. I'm trying to figure out what to stay away from and what not to do. And it's amazing how that to-do list gets really clean and clear. So there's just a couple of things on my first thing in the morning. Don't get backlogged on I love yous. Don't get backlogged. And most importantly, know what's winning. You can't be a sports guy forever and Clyde on it. The most important thing is to know what winning is. Know what winning is for you. Know what winning is for your kid. Know what winning is for your spouse. Take a step back. And you know your wife or your husband may piss you off a little here and there. I'm sure they're leaving some toothpaste in the sink and everything else. But know what winning is for them. Know what's important for them. Know what ultimately winning is for the client. When you ask yourself that question, you'll be surprised at the answers and how fast and how much the relationships around you are going to improve. So I think, basically, I think, I always think that the value of someone's life is based on two things. It's based on your relationships, for one, and basically your relationships are based on trust and communication. So if you can increase the value of your relationships, I think it's going to increase the value of your life and the quality of your life.